financial advisor RFP was issued a few months ago. And the committee met and is recommending the selection of capital markets advisors. They've been the financial advisor to the city for many years, so recommending we continue. The pricing is the same as it has been 3 years ago, so they have not increased that. Just give you some background on what the financial advisor does for the city. When we undertake a bond issue, we rely on them to advertise it through the bond markets, through various publications. We rely on them to coordinate with the rating agencies, either a meeting or a conference call, and basically to be the go-between between us and the rating agencies. For example, we just closed on the joint school board yesterday. As our financial advisor, they worked with us, school district, and CIDA's attorneys and advisors to move the project forward, basically to comply with the laws, which is the other important aspect. In the securities industry, there's so much that's required in terms of compliance. For example, we have bond issues. Some have insurance ratings associated with them, some do not. What our advisor does is constantly monitor all the bond issues. If there's a change in the rating on one of the insurance companies that has insured our bond issue, we are required to notify the Securities and Exchange Commission. So those are compliance items that we are obligated to do, but it's handled through our financial advisor. So they represent, in my opinion, that's probably the most important aspect, is to comply with the securities laws.
I sat on the RFP for this. All worked for me. I don't have any questions to anybody else.
Dave, so I mean, as far as this just occurred to me there, I'm sort of refreshing my memory from my previous time in the council, but we're responsible obviously for all the school district bonding too, right?
Yes.
And our ratings are predicated a lot of times on our cash reserve, on the city side too.
Well, the bond rating, as you know, the last few years since joint school board has been
just through the
activated.
IDA, correct?
Right. All that borrowing is through the IDA.
Right.
And those are, technically it's repaid. It's not considered debt by New York State. It's considered an installment payment plan, installment lease purchase. It's more technical issues, but it's not debt. But it's an obligation of the school district. But those do not flow through us. Those go through the IDA. And that's where all that borrowing is. So none of that debt shows up on the city's books. The other debt, over the years, before joint school board, the school districts incurred various obligations. Bonds were issued for the school district. We, the city, are responsible to make those payments. We typically do that working with the school district they pay for it, but it's my responsibility to make sure that the debt service is paid. And we do have, the school district under the financial plan does have the ability to borrow $1 million in government obligation every year. They haven't done that in a few years. So for example, if they have a project where they need I think a few years back, Corcoran, some school needed additional emergency work, they were able to issue a bond for that. That would be, again, all that's our responsibility. It's all considered debt obligations of the city of Syracuse. So when the rating is considered, they consider both entities.
So how much outstanding debt from the school district outside of the IDA is still out there? Do you know?
I'd have to get that. I don't have that.
But that all counts against our rating.
All that together, right? Correct.
Yeah, and it will also count in as much as, I mean, obviously they would look our cash reserve too on the city side. What does the school district have? Do they have a cash reserve
Keep
too?
in mind, the advantage with the joint school board project, although it's considered an installment plan, installment lease purchase, I believe is the legal term, but there's a mechanism set up with New York State where the money flows to a third party, the trustee. So the bonds are very good bonds. They get those IDA bonds are guaranteed to be paid because as long as state aid flows, the investors
We
will
use
be
our own
paid.
state aid to pay for the bonds.
Right. So that's how that's being handled, and so those particular payments will, you know, again, as long as state aid flows, will always be paid. In terms of the other debt that's out there, I mean, the school debt's been decreasing, but I have to get that for you. I don't have it
Just
here.
we're responsible for it.
Ultimately, it's based, all the debt, all government obligations are issued at the full faith and credit of the city, even for school purposes. Yes.
That's all I got.
Relative to your question, Councilor Hogan, Dr. Vossler, I remember we asked this question before, I think last year, in regards to total debt service, and that's essentially your question, right?
Right.
And you know, to your point, it makes sense that it's, I remember the number you showed me on a piece of paper. I don't know if I want to say that out loud. But I believe it was equivalent to 1 year's budget, the total debt service, city and schools together, about a little over 250 million.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Probably total bonds outstanding,
yeah,
because $250 million debt service for a year is,
yeah.
that's a
yeah,
big
for
number.
years, right,
Yeah,
right.
it's probably total bonds outstanding.
Gotcha.
Which is budget.
Right.
So that's part of where you get that number.
Yeah, yeah.
I just wanted to, you know, obviously, in the context of our whole budget, you know, a lot of times you see the city on the operating side and you see the school district, but not, people maybe not realizing, the general public not realizing that we're responsible for a lot of that school district debt, too.
Well, I think it's important to clarify, we are responsible in the sense that Commissioner of Finance and the mayor sign all those documents. But in terms of responsibility, if I had to make a debt service payment today, I would not use city money, it would be school money. So we're responsible. If I could give you an example, let's carry this forward. The Common Council approved a ban for the school district last year, a couple years ago, $23 million for joint school board. We jump-started the program so architects and engineers could be paid up front. Well, part of the closing we did a couple days ago, of the total proceeds, $23 million is being deposited with the city. We are responsible to make sure that that ban repayment occurs at the end of April, not the school district. So we become responsible, but it's not like we're using city cash. I just think that's important to distinguish, because in our capacity in finance, we have custody of those bank accounts. So, you know, we know, and we didn't even put that cash in with the school cash. So it's because it's been basically restricted for repayment. So we track that pretty good.
But being a dependent school district, we're responsible.
Right, right. So for example, these debt payments come up, we're responsible to make the payment, we're also responsible to plan and see, you know, if they had cash flow issues, we'd have to.
Not that they've ever had cash flow issues over the years.
Nothing real bad.
Any other? When do you expect the audit of the previous fiscal year to be complete?
Yeah, we're in the final, the numbers are complete, we're just in the final, there's a budget actual report, and then some management discussion narrative that needs to be finalized. Then we need to meet with the auditors.
All right, I'm just,
I hate to say-
repeat one part where he says that the numbers are complete. There we go.
Yeah, well, the auditors would, you know, we can't release anything until.
I know,
until
that's
they're-
fine.
But no, I don't believe there's any more adjusting entries, to my knowledge. We haven't heard from them. So that's the plan would be very soon. The final date to get all the data up loaded to the Bureau of Census, which tracks all the federal audits, would be the end of March. So, and we always meet that deadline.
Okay. I heard we got anything else, finance? We can move
I'm
that
all done.
forward. I see no reason. Because everybody's in support of it.
Thank you.
I hear there was a PBA letter.
Thanks, Dave.
I think you dropped it at the clerk's, so do you want to just describe what you dropped, since I don't think we have seen what exactly you submitted this time?
Yep, we are, Corey Dunham, Chief Operating Officer for the city. We are resubmitting the tentative agreement signed by the mayor and the PBA for consideration to the council.
So it'll be the same contract as what was submitted in that of the year? Okay.
Yeah, the same contract agreed to by the mayor and the PBA.
I don't have any questions at this time. I'm fine moving it forward. I think it's probably a discussion for the whole council to have. So anybody else have anything at this point? So I think it's fine to move it forward.
Great.
And we'll see you at the next step.
Sounds good.
Anything else? All right, with that we can close the finance meeting. Thank you all for coming.
He was like, I'm just